Hello, love, it's Tufuga here. Today is the 22nd of January 2026. It's a day of mourning for the commemoration of the Bondi shooting. So today is also a day in which they've released the Australian hate laws and the combating anti-Semitism and hate and extremism legislations here by the federal government of Australia. I've been going through it, had a look at it, so I have it here. So this is the legislation pertaining to the combating anti-Semitism, hate and extremism in Australia. There's some various terms of references that are relevant for other multicultural groups regarding the types of laws that pertains to potential preachers and leaders throughout the Samoan community and other community groups. What is interesting about this legislation is that it doesn't mention particular religions. So that needs to be understood quite clearly. But what it does stipulate is the criminal law amendments pertaining to aggravated offences for various hate groups and preachers of hate, such as criminal law amendments pertaining to aggravated offences for preachers and leaders of various groups, including multicultural groups, sporting groups, or what have you, that may promulgate hate and harassments to cause offence to other groups. Now, in this legislation, it also lists the schedule for the criminal law amendments, such as Part 1 is regarding to aggravated offences for preachers and leaders. Part 2 is increased penalty for using a postal or similar service to menace, harass, or cause offence, which I believe it's carriage services used to articulate an insightful language in their hate message. Part 3 is the aggravated sentencing factor pertaining to the Crimes Act of 1914. And Part 4 is the actual prohibited hate groups. Now that is what I would focus in this particular discussion. Then there's Part 5, which is aggravated grooming offences, grooming hate individuals. And also Part 6 is the hate symbols that are now outlawed. Now, hate symbols was going to be particularly interesting. Now, what are the types of groups that are being targeted here? Obviously, it's the far-right groups. And so, because the far-right groups have been targeted, the National Party of Australia objected to voting for the legislation because it targets their base of support. Now, the active far-right neo-Nazi groups of Australia, as well as the far-right groups that are being mentioned here, are listed under the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism, which is otherwise an acronym called GPAHE. In Australia, the most notable group is the National Socialist Network, which is headed by the notorious ex-Kiwi, Thomas Sewell, which is the largest neo-Nazi group in Australia. The other one is the Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is a Jordanian-based and Lebanese-based Hizb ut-Tahrir, or the Party of the ut-Tahrir. That is known to be circulating here in Australia. The other group is the European Australian Movement, so the EAM, which is associated with the NSN. And there are localized active clubs clubs, such as the Crow Eaters in South Australia, no doubt, because obviously it's Crow Eaters, and who are affiliated with the international movement of white supremacists. They are renowned for creating shadow militias. Now that be similar to the NSM, and that would also include recruiting people to join groups that were mercenaries in the Ukrainian war. Now this would include the private military companies, the PMCs, such as Blackwater, which was rebranded as Academy. And you would have the American affiliates such as Atomwaffen. These are the types of groups that exist elsewhere. Now, the March for Australia, which includes all these anti-immigration marches, is also listed. They are a nationalist groups that organise rallies in Australia, and these rallies become recruitment centres for neo-Nazis. And then there's another group of the Antipodean resistance that was formed in 2016, which is anti-Semitic and anti-LGBTQ, although some of them are actually gays that are anti-Semitic. But what is interesting, which I would personally have some interest in, is the far-right groups here in Australia that have been here for a fairly long while. The Australian League of Rights, which are predominantly a lot of veterans who are involved, and some of them have affiliates with the Legacy of Australia, which is a military veterans organisation that has a base of League of Rights guys. So they include a lot of guys in the shooters clubs, and the Australian First Party is also listed, and the affiliate enfranchisement of the Proud Boys. So Australia has its version of the Proud Boys, and the True Blue Crew and the Australian Protectionist Party are listed as potential groups that are now, in effect, criminalised under the Combating Anti-Semitism, Hate and Extremism bill that was just passed a day or so ago. Now, as a Samoan, how does this impinge on us as Australians? Well, look, I've lived here for 45 years and have been subjected to institutionalized forms of racism, and that includes the criminal justice systems here in Queensland and the Queensland Police Services and their racial profiling from years of interactions with employment centres and various educational institutions where I was targeted even as a student at the University of Queensland and other institutions, even Macquarie University when I was studying my Masters for Policing, Intelligence and Counterterrorism. And even then, I was subjected to racial profiling. But you get that. So this legislation is excellent. And the fact that the National Party refused to support this legislation exemplifies the National Party's foundations as an ultra-right-wing, reactionary and ultra-conservative political party that supports these types of groups, especially the League of Rights. So when you having to deal with the institutionalizations of ultra right-wing reactionary behavior, you can see what's going on in the European Parliament when they promulgated the Anschluss against the Greenland proposal by the American president. We understand the problems that we are facing today, and the Ukrainian war is a case in point. Yeah, talafatu fa so forth.